This time on STV, we're back in the shop, but we've got a story from the World Snowmobile headquarters where we visited the museum there. Then we're going to be talking snowmobile gear, and we've got snow outside, so I'm going to ride all the old crap cans that I have here with me at the shop, and I've got one tip for you that'll help you identify when your snowmobile belt is about to blow. So stick around. STV is brought to you by Yamaha, revs your heart. Ultimax belts, performance driven, performance proven. And by Polaris, think outside. We just got back from the World Championship Snowmobile Derby at Eagle River, and what an experience that was. I forgot how much fun ice oval races are to watch, especially when the weather's nice and you can ride right to the track. And let me tell you, the riding around Eagle River, it's pretty darn good. We also got to ride with the Ultimax Belts crew, where we made a bunch of new friends out on the trails around Eagle River. Trails that were even better than I had hoped for. All in all, Eagle River, especially during race week, is an unexpected gem of a location that I didn't really have on my go ride-in list, but I should have. Of course, I knew of the races in Eagle River and of the town, but I'm almost ashamed to admit that it's taken me this long in my snowmobile life to go there for the very first time. It's definitely not going to be that long before I go back there again. But in the last episode of STV, there was one story that we weren't really able to focus on too much, and that was our visit to the museum at the world headquarters of snowmobiling. I had heard about this place located next to the Derby complex, and that it was pretty good with a mix of both trail snowmobile and racing history. What I didn't know is that in this building could be found an exhibit on the International Snowmobile Hall of Fame inductees. Here, names like Edgar Hattine and J.A. Bombardier can be found, along with a long list of others who have had a tremendous impact on snowmobiling. With the history of the 60th running of the Snowmobile Derby, and then getting to walk through so much more history at the museum, both on the trail side and the racing side, was something special. And getting to look at the Snowmobile Hall of Fame and all those names and faces of the OG influencers of snowmobiling was quite incredible. Plus, I got to meet a lot of those folks, so it got me thinking about them and remembering the ones that we lost along the way. Not gonna lie, kind of brought a tear to my eye. The cool thing about this wall is, there's Jacques Villeneuve is on there, but down over here, we've also got Gilles Villeneuve, and we all know who Gilles Villeneuve was. And even before that, where is it? Where is he? There he is, Yvon Duhamel, 1970. And I think Gilles is 74. Yeah, Gilles 74. And of course, Jacques is all over this thing. Very cool. To help walk us through the museum, we met with Sarah Anderson, the creative director of the museum, to tell us more about this special place.
The World Snowmobile headquarters concept came as an umbrella to feature several people groups that didn't have a brick and mortar. At the Derby track, they have an expo hall, but they don't have a place to feature the history of the Derby. This is huge for the community to bring all these people to Eagle River area and surrounding areas in the winter time. We're just behind turn 4, so 200 yards away. So when there's plow breaks during the races, people can just walk over and warm up and check out the museum. On the racing end, we have everything from the Derby program books through the years. It's like the Super Bowl of snowmobile racing here. There's hundreds of photographs, things from the early Derby, things from the vintage races. We have the Eugene Radloff Gallery. He was a local photographer, and he took pictures of the people, not just the racers. So you could see what was going on during the event. On all places on the track, not just on the oval itself. Everyone that made a motor basically made a snowmobile. So there was 321 brands of snowmobiles. So you had your outboard companies. The Evinrude falls into the outboard companies, and so it's patriotic. It has a wing on the back, aircraft steering, twin tracks rotary engine, and then the suspension is in the skis. So it kind of looks like an Evel Knievel snowmobile.
This thing in 1967 rode from Vancouver, BC to Portland, Maine across country in 1967. But what's kind of cool of it, the way that they did it, obviously there's no trails, so they had to make this thing street legal. So that's why there's tires on it down here, full-size license plate. They have windshield wiper, which I think is kind of ridiculous and cool at the same time. They've got turn signals, seatbelt. I mean, they were ahead of their time with the seatbelt on this thing, and taillights. And I think it was like 160 some miles a day that they had to do on this thing to get across country. And the story goes, they were stopped 14 times going across country and pardoned 14 times. Stuff you can get away with back then, you just can't get away with now. Also at the museum when we were there was Howard Rusty Wolf, a past president of the Snow Eagles Snowmobile Club of the Eagle River, and he had some more to say about this special place.
I retired 10 years ago and decided I want a snowmobile, so I moved up here. I joined the club. First year I became the president of the club. I was the president for just over 6 years, and going through the history of the club made me want to collect history and eventually write a book. I went to the shed where we store our grooming equipment back in 2015, and I found 12, 13 huge Rubbermaid boxes full of newsletters and photographs and trail maps, just different paraphernalia. So I decided I like history. I decided I need to go through it to learn about the club if I'm going to be president. And I did. I took one bucket at a time, and I organized everything into 3-ring binders by year. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking I need to write down notes to be a better president so I can explain the club to other people, promote Eagle River, and promote the Snow Eagles. And as I did that, I'm thinking, I should get somebody to write the book. Well, that somebody turned out to be me. And so I took notes and wrote what I thought was a book of history, and it is. History of the Snow Eagles, history of snowmobiling in the Vilas County, northern Wisconsin. And also one chapter is the history of the Derby track here in Eagle Rivers.
Rusty is quite the character, and both he and the book he authored can often be found at the museum, so I highly recommend taking the time out to go in and chat with him if he's around. In fact, anytime you get the chance to visit a snowmobile museum like this one, or maybe the one back in Cochrane, Ontario, or even in Valcourt, Quebec, I highly suggest you do it. Sure, you might think it's a waste of valuable riding time, but I think once you get inside, you'll find yourself drawn into the exhibits and the characters you'll find there. On our drive through the UP of Michigan, both to and from Eagle River, we passed the Top of the Lake Snowmobile Museum, but it was closed both times, and I kind of regret not being able to get in there and check that place out. So we'll have to make time on the next tour, or maybe we'll go a little farther down the road to Sainer, Wisconsin, and check out an exhibit they have in that town of Carl Elison, the guy who built the very first snowmobile. That's right, he's the one with the very first patented motor toboggan. But that will have to wait for our next trip back to Wisconsin. Right now though, we're going to take a break and be back with some advice on how to choose the correct snowmobile gear. This segment is brought to you by Yamaha. There's no doubt that snowmobile gear from every manufacturer is undergoing constant improvement in the ways it can manage temperature and moisture and wind, things like that. But modern snowmobile clothing lines are also diverging into ever more subcategories, just like the sleds we ride. It can all be a bit confusing, and it's tough when you're out there trying to decide what suit, or better yet, what outerwear system is best for you and the way you ride. So I'm going to try to answer some questions that I often get when out talking with snowmobilers like you out in the wild, and hopefully what I have to say here will work for all genders. Let's start at the bottom and the boots we wear, because there's a couple of options here too. Now, one way of going is with your basic Deer Lake loafer here, available in stylish camo. These are often found in green and go perfectly with your Sudbury dinner jacket. They're warm, they're waterproof, excellent at ice fishing, and can even be had with steel toes, but they're not necessarily snowmobile boots. And honestly, if a boot keeps your dogs warm, it really doesn't matter what it looks like. But one issue with a typical winter boot is that they don't offer much ankle support because of the soft shells. What I like is a boot that provides the support with a much stiffer shell that includes both the sole and the upper section of the boot. Boots like this have developed from the old days of snowcross, when racers used to wear full-on snowboard boots. These modern snowmobile ones do fit much better on the running boards and don't get stuck in the stirrups like the snowboard boots used to do. Typically, a boot like this is going to be difficult to wear on older sit-down style machines. Moving on from the footwear department, next I want to talk about the midsection, and this is where it can get complicated. So I'm going to start with broad brush strokes, and that's the difference between a two-piece and a onesie. I've been wearing a onesie for most of my trail riding for a few years now, and I really like it. And the onesie also seems to be a little better sealed up in the midsection compared to a loose-fitting two-piece. They do come with two significant drawbacks though. Number one, you have to do something with the upper section when you don't want it on, say at a restaurant or something like that, but tying it up around your waist like this works just fine. The bigger problem is for those times nature calls, especially online too. Trying to deal with all the material while you expose what you have to expose to do your business is a little bit hard, and keeping all that material off the floor to get wet or out of the bowl is a bit of a task. If you are faced with this situation, I suggest going to the biggest stall available to you. For you ladies though, you have onesies with a trailside access panel for just such an occasion. I mean, it seems like such an easy solution for everyone because a drop panel can definitely come in handy. But overall, two-piece suits do offer the ability to remove just the jacket when you need to, or mix and match tops and bottoms to suit different occasions. Now, of course, I still wear a two-piece from time to time, especially if I know I'm going to be in and out of a warm place throughout the day. But one thing to remember whenever choosing a two-piece snowmobile suit is that there's some sort of a mechanism, usually like an elastic band around the midsection, that prevents air and snow from being blown up into the small of your back. Gloves or mittens are another key piece of the puzzle, and again here you have to balance warmth with expectations. For me, I want as much feel on the bars as I can get and quick access to the brake when I need it. So right there, I'm riding with gloves and not mitts, and that means a compromise in warmth. Depending on your situation, like say riding two up on the back of a sled where all you have to do is hold on to those rear handholds, in that case, mitts might be your best option. Up next is the brain bucket, the skid lid, the hard hat, the cab, or the helmet, if you want to call it that. What we're going to look at here is the two main styles that you're going to see with snowmobiling, the motocross style and the full-faced. I'm not even going to talk about the ones that make you look like the Great Gazoo, even though in the right situation, they can actually be pretty cool. Modern snowmobile helmets like this Mission here do a great job of keeping the visor clean by managing your breath. There's a breath box at the front of the helmet, then it takes the air through the helmet and your breath along with it out vents in the back, preventing the shield from fogging up. This can work very effectively, but depending on the temperature outside or even the style of windshield on your machine, you may have to move to an electric visor to keep it clear. MX helmets like the Titan use their 210-degree goggles with clip-on straps, which I find provides a better field of view compared to the close-faced helmets. Now, I do things a little bit differently. I don't wear the seals or the curtains provided in the Titan box. Instead, I wear a light balaclava and a no fog. Now, this system looks absolutely ridiculous until you get the helmet on, but I do find it works for me, and it's kept me warm deep into the -30s. Now, there are electric goggles available which work well, but I also don't like being connected to the sled with a wire, and this leaves me with my last piece of advice. And that's to plan ahead before purchasing expensive riding gear. Think about where you ride and how you ride, and also think about your gear as a complete system, all working together to keep you warm and dry all day long. Coming up next, we've got snow outside, so I'm going to test ride all the old sleds that I have running here at the shop, because that's going to end well. No, it's not. Not going to end well at all. This segment is brought to you by Best Western Hotels and Resorts.
All right, so here's what we got going. I got the 3 sleds out here. The Yamaha, if you're wondering, it's at home, it's not here, but it's running fine, so I'm not even worried about that. Right now I'm going to start with the Scuzzy because as you notice it's parked a little bit on an angle here, and that's because there's a hole in the tank where the patanger comes out for the fuel line, and it pees fuel out pretty quick. So I want to start with the Scuzzy. We'll see what happens here. Gonna throw some chocolator at it here and see if she starts. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Come on, baby. This is that recoil that I'm having problems with. That's not fixed yet. It's gonna go. There it goes. Almost on 3 cylinders. Okay. Let's go before it runs out of gas. I'm really not gonna be surprised if I'm walking back to the other sleds. Whoa, this thing's got some power now. Feel that. Let's go here. This is gonna end badly. Woohoo! Yes, baby, she's going. Oh yeah. Feel the power of the Scuzz. Doesn't handle worth a darn. Still not really revving real good. I think it's a fuel issue because that fuel pickup is kind of floating in the tank, so I think what's happening is the fuel sort of running out of gas. Oh yeah. Ooh, I can smell the gas. Yeah. Again, I'm not looking for good here, just good enough. It seems to be working. Not well, but working. Well, I have fuel on my boot. Oh yeah, this is so good. So I think it's time to bring this thing back to the shop. Because it's, oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, I think we're good to go again. Woohoo! Eeny, meeny, no, I'm just gonna go with the gold member here because this thing is incredible. I mean, look at it. Just look at it. I mean, that's a good looking sled, but that's better. I mean, unbelievable. Gold and brown. Snowmobile cover colors should be gold and brown, I think, forever. Oh. Oh, she wants to go. All right. Oh, come on, babe, come on. There we go. There we go. All right, here we go. Woohoo! Oh, this is so comfy. I'm gonna go this way. Whoa! Yeah, there we go. Oh, I bottomed it out there in powder. How do you do that? We are wide open on the Finger Blaster 3000 here, if you notice. And we're moving. This is all she's got. Nothing left. And we're in a snowmobile track. We'll go straight. So we'll see if it slows down when it's cutting its own powder. Yep, it's slowing down when it cuts its own powder. I think we're doing, it says 50. I don't think that's actually 50. Oh, that traveled right up my spine and into my head. Oh, there was a bump there. I didn't even see it. So I think this is about good with this one. We'll bring it back and see if we can get the old 650 running. There it is. Look at that beautiful sled sitting there. Oh, that's next. And we're done. I love this thing. It's incredible. So this, if you know, is my 650. I've had this for a long time, since before I was 16. I'm gonna fire it up and get some heat in it. Oh, come on, baby. Oh yeah. She wanted to go. Feels like 2 years old, but all right, here we go. Oh yeah, 10,000 RPM right there. Let's go for a journey of discovery. We got the sun coming out. This is an SKS after all, so I mean it is a mountain sled. In case you can't tell, definitely a mountain sled. Oh yeah, look at that. And carve. Until you hit something with your butt and then you'd fall off. Just gonna mow some trees here. Oh, what's going on? Come on, baby. might have picked up a little snow dust. She'll work itself out. Here it goes. Now come on. Oh, what do we got? Some temperature showing. That's not good. Maybe we blew something. I'm just gonna like go back here because see what happened. See, I got a little aggressive there. Got a little aggressive, and now I got a light on in the dash. I just don't want to hurt it. That's all. Just really don't want to hurt it. But there you go. So I didn't have to walk back to the shop, so I'm pretty happy. I call this a win. Yay! Oh.
This segment is brought to you by Kane's Quest. So I learned something new about a belt today. Mike and I were talking, and he explained to me a trick to know whether or not your belt is about to explode, and it could prevent that catastrophic explosion or belt failure. And Mike, walk me through that tip that you were talking about the other day.
Yeah, Jeff, because a belt is squeezed on an angle like this, and is squeezed at least 700 pounds of force, one of the things you want to look for when a belt starts to fatigue is to look for cupping down the center, cupping inward.
Will it cup down or will it cup up?
It will cup down, okay, because you're squeezing this way, in the center it's going to go down. You got to say to yourself, you know what, I need to really think about changing that belt relatively quickly.
Yeah, and don't use it anymore because it's a ticking time bomb at that point.
Yeah.
It's a good tip, and maybe it'll prevent one of these things from firing out through your belly pan. That's it for this edition of STV. Make sure you tune in next week when we're back out on the trails. Closed captioning is brought to you by Ultimax. STV has been brought to you by CKX, Wear Your Passion. Best Western Hotels and Resorts, Ready to Get Away, and by On Snow Magazine, for snowmobilers from snowmobilers.